I'm going to show you a few little things to make your life easier using a pendant drill. This is a Fordham. It's actually a flexible shaft. They call it a pendant drill because it kind of hangs like a pendant. This is a quick change handpiece because the majority of the bits that you buy as a jeweler have the same 2.3 millimeter shank, so it's quite easy to change bits. It comes with what they call a number 30 handpiece, which is a chuck, a Jacob's chuck, which means that you can put different size bits in it, so it's quite handy. But what I do is I buy a quick change handpiece, so I keep this in reserve in case I need it, and I always use the quick change. There's another little thing these days that you can get. It's called a micromotor, and you can see once again it's a quick change handpiece, but it just has an electrical cord attached. And the reason that this is good is that it doesn't have the wind up that the flexible shaft has. What I'm calling the wind up is when you're trying to hold your handpiece straight up and down, this flexible shaft will tend to flex, and it makes it difficult to hold this straight up and down, where it's quite easy with the micromotor. But saying that, this is the standard, and I'm going to show you a few little items that'll make your life easier. The first is the Split Mandrel, which is just a piece of steel with a slot cut in it so that you can put a piece of sandpaper on it. And this is great, like a little flapper wheel. This is great for doing the inside of rings. General work. What you don't want to do is you don't want to use this for doing a flat surface. Yeah. So it's such a handy tool. Once you get one, you'll want to use it for everything. But if you use this for a flat surface, you'll end up with a ripple effect, and you'll never be able to get a shiny, shiny finish. So just use it for edges, for insides of curves, for that type thing, not for flat surfaces. Now this is what they call a screw mandrel. It has a screw in the end, and this is an abrasive wheel. I use a medium grit mostly. It's like 400 grit sandpaper. It's good for doing little cleanup bits, like the edges of things where you've got a lump, so you can just keep it moving around. Works really well for that type thing. The next thing is another screw mandrel, only with a cutoff wheel, and this is a Carbide thin wheel. It's very brittle, but it does work really well. For cutting a thin line. Now, be very careful with this, because when using one of these, well, using anything that spins, have safety glasses on, but these in particular, because you can see how brittle they are. And when that flies, I almost guarantee that it will hit you. Safety glasses. This is called a Moore's disc, and it's just a clip-on sanding disc, and you can get them fine, medium, coarse. You could put the abrasive out or in. It just depends on how you want to use it. It's really handy, but you'll still have to polish this on Tripoli when you're done. It's almost impossible to get a completely smooth finish with this, but it is really good for doing fine touch-up work. You buy your discs by the 100. This is a little collet that holds a little abrasive point, which is quite good for once again, for fine cleanup work. It comes in all different grits. And then there's your standard polishing buff. So when you have these two little buffs, I say two because you need one for Tripoli and one for rouge. Always keep them separate. This is just for fine polishing of things that you don't want to risk to your big polishing wheel. Now, when you've drilled a hole and you have a burr of metal sticking up, what you can do is you can use a round burr, quite a bit larger, and you just gently spin it and it'll take that burr off. Now, there's a hammer handpiece that you can clip on in place of your handpiece, and it's just a hammer that goes in and out. Now you can put a diamante tip on this to get a little diamond pattern, or you can just use this for hammering prongs or the edges of small bezels over. Another thing you can use your pendant drill for is you just use the end of your flex shaft and it will spin this little belt sander. So let me plug that in and I'll show you. So this is quite handy for doing the edges of metal. Nice little tool. Don't use it very much, but it is quite handy. This is made by Wolf. Show you the box. And I got this from Rio, but quite a few people will supply this, including Auto Fray, I'm pretty sure. So that's just a quick idea of what you can do with your pendant drill. Even if you only use it for drilling and a little bit of cleanup, it's so handy. Once you have one, you'll always be lost without it.